Hey everybody, Chris Starcheski, co-host of Unlock the Middle, coming at you tonight on Tuesday, December the 8th of 2020, alongside my good friend and colleague, Dean Packard, principal of the mighty Grizzly Charlton Middle School. Middle Marvels is a segment where we unlock all that is special about middle-level education, and we highlight and showcase rock star middle-level educators who help take the game of themselves, their colleagues, their students, and their schools to the next level. And we've got an amazing show tonight. Dean, how are you?
Chris, amped up, baby. We've been on a video for the last 3 hours holding town halls with our own parents as principals of our school. And now we get to dig into the trenches and really bring another middle marvel to the forefront and tell the story of what it's like to be in the trenches. How can you not be excited about that? Think about that for a second, Chris. We're going to drive that car. You know, what's that show? Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. When the guy drives his car around, where are we going tonight, Chris? I tell you what, we're going to go to River Grove, Illinois. That's where we're going to make our stop.
Hey, we got another state on the map.
Bang, check that
Middle Marvel Hall of Fame, Illinois. Welcome, and welcome River Grove. Let's go ahead and bring our guest in, Dean, and get down to business, because you know what? Her story is one that people need to hear.
Let's do it, Chris. Why don't you take the bio introduction, okay?
All right, you go ahead and bring her on into the room. Hey, everybody, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Middle Marvel number 23, Michael Jordan's number.
Yes!
She is a 7th and 8th grade ELA teacher at the Rhodes School. She is an educator of 13 years in tenure. Follow her on Twitter at Rhodes 7 and 8 LA. So Becky Rupnick has been a middle school language arts teacher in River Grove, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, for 13 years. She also serves as the middle school LA coordinator for her school district. She holds 2 master's degrees in curriculum and instruction and reading education. Ms. Rupnick is in the final stages of completing her PhD at the University of Illinois at Chicago. I'm glad you have time on your hands for ELA teacher, Becky. Her research is concentrated around how corrective feedback and repair is offered to EL students. She's presented at a wide range of state and national teaching conferences beginning in 2009, including the National PSYOP Conference, Illinois Reading Conference, and Illinois Educational Technology Conference. She's served as an adjunct professor and has been a guest speaker at several state universities. She's a strong advocate for special needs awareness. This advocacy work came with the birth of her child, Agatha, in 2016. Aggie was born with spina bifida, a complex neurological condition. In 2019, Aggie was recognized as the patient champion for Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago. Becky and Aggie have chaired many events and fundraisers for the hospital. They also have been involved in various media coverage, sharing their story and connection to the hospital. Becky is also an executive board member for the Illinois Spina Bifida Association. She offers free weekly tutoring and executive functioning training to individuals impacted by spina bifida. She recently received a grant to publish a Diagnosis Day brochure for new spina bifida parents, that will be available at all OB/GYN and maternal fetal medicine clinics throughout 9 states.
Wow.
Ms. Rupnick's love for writing extends beyond the classroom and into the professional arena. Some of her publications include Illinois Reading Council Professional Journal, Disability Magazine, Spina Bifida Magazine, and a featured writer for The Mighty, an online magazine. She has co-authored Twice Born, a book exploring the diagnosis of spina bifida. She is currently working on co-authoring a new professional development book titled 100 in your face, no nonsense things that all teachers should stop doing. That is due to be released in April of 2021. I'm looking forward to getting that book on my shelf, Dean. Becky forged a partnership between her school and local university, Concordia University, Chicago. Through this collaborative effort, Becky has mentored over 50 pre-service teachers. Wow. In a variety of capacities, such as clinical students, student teachers, and student observers. She also formed a peer mentoring program called ROAR, Recognizing Opportunities at Rhodes. The program pairs students from Rhodes School with college students from Concordia University in an effort to build positive relationships, develop a growth mindset, and set goals for the future. However, Becky's true passion is teaching. Being involved in her students' growth, both academically and socially, emotionally, is an honor that Becky truly cherishes. Becky, that is perhaps the longest bio I have ever read in my life. And I have to say that I am now fired up to hear your story. So Becky, let's kick it off. Tell us about your journey to get to where you are today.
All right. Well, I have to say, Chris, when you came in and you said 23 Michael Jordan, Dean and I were talking about that when we were waiting for you to join in. And we are the city of Michael Jordan. And Dean even was like, what? You're 23 years old? I'm like, I'll take that as a compliment. Yes, I wish I was 23 years old.
MJ, one of the best of all time.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, he's all right. Larry Bird was number one, but we'll leave it there.
I don't know. You're probably going to see some of my Twitter friends drop right off with that comment, Chris. How my journey and how I got here. So, when I look back and, reflect on everything, I remember growing up and, just always playing school with my sister in our bedroom. My mom, she was involved in special education, and she would always bring her resources home, like her extra curriculum books and, the teacher guides. And it was just like heaven on earth, us playing with these. And that's how I learned fractions. And I remember I went to every single one of my mom's bring your daughter to work days. She taught summer school, and she would always say, as I was going through college, Becky, I remember you when you were in middle school. You used to take over my whole classroom. You would be up there at the whiteboard teaching my students for me. And then, one important moment in my journey was when I think back on it, I think back to high school. And I remember my mom came home from my parent-teacher conferences, and she's like, Becky, I got to talk to you about something. It's pretty serious. And I'm like, what? I'm a typical, no detention, A student. And she's like, I had a really serious conversation with your English teacher. And I'm like, oh gosh, what did I do? What could I have done? And she said, you need to work on improving your writing. And that just took me aback. I was like, oh my God, I am on a mission. So when I started college, I took every possible writing course you could take because I needed to prove that teacher wrong. And so I got my minors in English. And ever since, writing has been my passion. And, I fell into the love of middle school, and I just love to share my passion and my love for writing with my students. So that's where I'm at today, writing as much as possible and teaching my heart out.
Well, I can't tell you love doing what you do, Becky.
We can tell just by your energy and your enthusiasm. And we share your love for middle school. Chris and I have dedicated our lives to being, that middle school, the principalship right now, but, that middle school teacher and really working with kids at that middle level growth where when I said like earlier in our pregame, that's our basketball analogy. That anyway. We talked about how important it was to connect with kids who are in 7th and 8th grade. That's a tough age. I'll tell you, if you can teach 7th and 8th graders, you can teach anywhere. My elementary friends out there, I know that's hard as well. High school is different, but at that middle level, when things spin, obviously, all the time, it makes it difficult. So tell us a little bit about some of the obstacles and challenges you've had to get where you are today. We talked about it in our pregame talk about the things you do outside of school and how you are a bigger influence within your school community.
Sure. Yeah. So I'd have to say, right now, a lot of schools and a lot of districts across the nation are facing this challenge. And I got to say, my number one challenge right now is remote learning, hands down. Yeah. I was telling Dean in our pregame, I haven't seen my students. We have not been back in the building since March 13th. So it's been tough, building that and maintaining that relationship is such a key factor in middle school teaching and learning. And then having to do that through the online component just makes it so much more challenging. But I think what's helped me is focusing on those social emotional learning, getting those students, able to understand that this is a trying time. Everyone is going through this. We're going through it as a nation. We need to stand together, united. And I always have the mindset in my head that everything has to be Maslow before Bloom. Everything has to come Maslow before Bloom. And that's the mentality that I go into teaching with every single day. And I have to say, though, too, that remote learning has completely changed my perspective on a lot of things that when I was in person, I thought, wow, these things, I really need to focus on it. And, remote learning, it's just, again, made me emphasize the social emotional learning aspects. I've really honed in and focused on those essential questions and always having my goals and purposes posted for everything. So my students understand the connection to the real world. Why are we doing this? Why does it matter? Why is it important? They need that. They need to hear that so that they're able to understand what they're doing in remote learning is just as important and as prominent as what they're doing outside in the classroom if we were in person,
Wow, Becky. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. No, you go, Chris. Sorry.
All right. No, I heard you talk about the real life application. And, for middle school, high school, it's so important for kids to be able to understand how the skills that they work on translate into, big people skills. Talk a little bit of how you incorporate those real life lessons into the daily routine and really captivate your kids.
Sure, absolutely. So I am so lucky, Chris and Dean, to be partnered with the most amazing co-teacher who's on right now, Andy Snyderman. Shout out to you. And together we work really well, and we hone in on 3 huge themes in our classroom that are seen across all of our classes. We strongly believe in student choice, project-based learning, and collaboration. And everything we teach is through that methodology. And what's beautiful about the power of language arts is that we have the ability to choose our topics for writing. We are a textbook-free classroom, so we have a lot of teacher choice, and we use that choice to give our students choice. So whenever we're about to start a topic, we let our students pick, what do you guys want to write about? We're going to be working on argumentative writing. We're going to be working on explanatory writing, but you guys pick the topic. And just this year, we've had some great topics come up. I'm so proud of my students. They've been working on gender equality issues, veterans issues, the purpose of the Electoral College, political leaders and their use of social media, and even limits on screen time. So I think that, giving them that choice and really focusing on projects and learning the standards through projects really helps to connect everything to the real world and make their learning purposeful and bring their learning to life.
Now, wow, tremendous amount of student agency in that classroom, man. Yeah. That's awesome.
How about any interdisciplinary units with history, with ELA? You doing anything in that capacity?
We always try and connect with our social studies and our science on the forefront, definitely. We're going to hit vaccines pretty soon in my AP language arts class, and that ties in really nicely to our AP bio unit that our science teacher, Rebecca Prince, teaches. So it's just wonderful that, we have such a tight-knit, we're a one-school district. So I was telling Dean, we are a tight-knit family. We try and do everything together.
I'm hearing AP at the middle level, Chris. Did I just hear that?
Me too.
How about that? Yeah, we got that enriched level. I like that. That's hacking into something else, which we could probably get into that in a little bit. Listen, 13 years in the field of teaching. There's got to be something that really resonates with you, a time along the journey that has stuck with you, that has helped develop you to become the educator that you are today. Can you speak to a time like that?
Sure, absolutely. So, one moment that stands out in my career, it just recently happened, but it was just such a purposeful moment that I feel like I got to share it. So, like Chris mentioned in my bio, I formed a program called ROAR, which is Recognizing Opportunities at Rhodes. It's our take on Big Brother, Big Sister. So I would go to our university that's about 15 minutes away from our school, Concordia University, shout out to the Cougars, and recruit their service teachers to come and work with some of our high-risk students. We would do interest surveys and match them up with, based on their passions and things that they like. And they would come and work with our students. We would do games, once or twice a month. And so in my first year during ROAR, I personally had a 7th or an 8th grader, who was having just a really, really hard time. He was going through some major SEL issues, major things at home. And you could see that being reflected in his schoolwork. He was a DNF student the entire 8th grade career. And, it was just one of those kids you felt a special connection with. And so then the following year, it's my day to meet with the mentors, the new set of mentors coming in from Concordia University. And I get a buzz from our principal, Mr. McConnell, and he's like, Mrs. Rupnick, there's a student here to see you. Can he come visit from last year? And I'm like, send him down, send him down. And this student comes in and he shows me his report card from high school, his freshman year. And he's like, look at this, Miss Rupnick. Look at, I got straight A's. And he's like, you need to give this to my mentor, Andrew. I need him to see this. He told me how to do this. He taught me how to do that. And I mean, it was just so powerful that this connection, you know, that he had with this college student motivated him and set him up with the path for greatness. And to add on to that, I was just on our Leiden High School website, saw a picture of this student leading a business plan presentation. So it just came full circle, you know, and that just shows the power of relationships in the middle school. You know, they can take kids anywhere. And that's why we got to focus on it.
You know, she said the business plan. You know, these are things that I think from a financial literacy standpoint, you know, we can dig into that a little bit later. But every time we have a middle marvel on or a speaker on, I walk away with 4 things that I can actually take back. So thank you for planting the seed with me on that.
Absolutely.
So Becky, you know, obviously you're student-centered. Obviously you're passionate about your craft and taking kids to the next level. What excites you the most about your position as an English language arts educator?
Absolutely. I was telling Jean again in our pregame that there is never a dull moment in that 7th and 8th grade classrooms. You know, you just got to love that age. But what I love is that I have the ability to see my students for 2 years. So I have them in 7th grade and then I have them in 8th grade. And I get to watch them grow and see how they change and just rise to those expectations. And I swear, when they come back in the fall of August in their 8th grade year, they are completely different students than I knew in May of their 7th grade year. And, you know, I just find so much passion in building these relationships. And I am just truly honored when my students, they come back and visit. They invite me to their high school events. Last year, I had a group of high schoolers write a story about my daughter and her special needs. And she was the focus in their Perseverance magazine. And I got to go see them and watch them present. And I mean, it was just a stream of tears. So just being part of the students' lives is just what impacts me the most. I think also we have total trust from my administration, which I completely love. Anytime you have a new idea, or me and my co-teacher, we want to try out something new, we go to our principal, we go to our assistant principal, we say, hey, we just thought of this, we think it's going to work. We're not 100% sure, but we want to try it out. Here's our plan. They say, let's do it. Let's do it. Check back with us in 2 weeks. Let us know how it's going. So just having that openness and that ability to, you know, come up with your own ideas and implement them without worry and with freedom is just such a powerful piece in teaching in the middle school, because you always got to keep it fresh with those kids.
You sure do. Hey, $1 million question. Rodman or Pippen? Who's your favorite?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go Pippen. I'm going Pippen for sure.
God comes through. Wow. I didn't know which way you're going to go with that one there. So I had to throw that in. All right. Navigating back very quickly. Let's talk about this. You said you've had a lot of student teachers in your classroom. You've mentored a lot of people. What advice would you give to a teacher just starting out, you know, amidst COVID, number one? We know how difficult that is, but just starting out in the business, what would you say to a person? How would you help them plant the seed to succeed?
Yeah, you know, when I look back, Chris and Dean, at my first year of teaching, I'm like, who was that person and what on earth was I doing? And I always say, take that first year as a learning experience. You are going to learn more in that first year of teaching than you will have learned in your entire collegiate experience. And they need to be ready to accept and take on that challenge. And I think it's really powerful that schools, when they have a colleague mentorship program, that the new teachers have those colleagues that they can rely on and look to, and not be afraid to ask questions or ask for new ideas. You know, I think we have to get in the mindset that asking questions is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength, that you're looking out and you're trying to do what's best for your students, which is key. And I also tell them, even as a first-year teacher, you're often told, hey, take a hands-off approach. Don't always be the one to share new ideas in the meeting. And I say, always tell my student teachers, you be the one to share your ideas. Speak your mind. You got to trust yourself and believe in everything that you're going to do. And I always say, an activity is always a failure if you never try it. So try everything.
Foster curiosity, though. I like that. That is a great point for any new teacher coming in. And you know what? You say it, and every new teacher that you probably have comes to it at a different lens, which is kind of neat and then you can actually pick and mold and really step back and watch the fruits of your labor as you mentor them through. So well done. Those are some great talking points.
Absolutely. And, Dean and Becky, the more I think about your influences that you are having on young educators coming into the field, you've had to have had influencers whose lessons have stayed with you. Think back over your life, over the career, over that high school experience that you referenced, that English teacher who told you weren't good enough. Who is the educator in your life that's had the biggest influence on you, and why?
Sure. Yeah. So I got a threefold answer for you. Number one, my mom, when she started out growing up, just watching her, she was so passionate. She was working nonstop, always trying to get her kids on par. The second one is actually kind of a funny story. My second person is John Mertz. He's actually my colleague right now. And I remember going in for my interview, my second round of interviews when we did a panel at Rhodes School. And my principal at the time, she's like, here's who's to interview you. I brought in the director of recycling, John Mertz. And here I am as nervous as heck at this interview. And I'm like, the director of recycling? I don't got this job in the back. There's no way. Why is this person here? And so, here's to it. I find out that he's actually she misspoke, and he is just runs a recycling program, but he's our director of technology. And he was also at the time partner in the 7th grade homeroom with me. And, he always taught me that and showed me that it's so important to establish these relationships and show students you care without, getting in that friendship zone. And, that's just done through, asking them how they're doing on their daily basis, going to their sporting events, and John Mertz, he always showed compassion, and he had this rapport with the students that was so powerful. People would come back 20 years later, they would be in town and they'd be like, oh, we want to see John Mertz. He was such a powerful influence on me. And seeing that inspired me to want to be just like him. And I remember, my first year of school, or first year teaching at Rhodes, I would walk down this hallway leading to his office, and it would just be covered with awards for John Mertz. And I was like, this is the guy I need to follow. This is the guy. And he's the one who got me into presenting and, just trying new things. So shout out to John Mertz. Thank you for being such a great mentor. And then, like I mentioned before, my co-teacher, Andy Snyderman, she is just a top-notch girl. She works with our ELL students. And, she's always pushing me to try new things and, just really hone in on having solid instruction always to make sure that our ELL learners are getting their needs met as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. One of the things I always say about middle school, and anytime I look to hire somebody, anybody can teach content. What I look for is what's called the it factor. Do you have the energy? Do you have the personality? Do you have the ability to be able to be a conductor of a locomotive with a bunch of kids on that train and get them to learn and get them to grow and get them to problem solve and get them to be something they never believed they could be? And those type of people that you mentioned, that you gave a shout out to, those people just have it. And, we're lucky. We have schools, both Chris and I have schools that are filled with people like that. And that's what makes the whole process of learning even better. Hey, tomorrow in your class, what's planned? What do you got going on? What's the next lesson?
Oh man, tomorrow in my class,
off script now. I want to know what's happening.
No, yeah, Dean called me out on having my notes, but that's all right. I'm a writing teacher. I could have notes. Actually, unfortunately, tomorrow, you caught me on a bad day, is we are taking a map testing all day. Yeah, major bummer. But I'll tell you about the day. Well, first I got to give a shout out to my 7th and 8th graders who took the map reading test today and rocked it for not being in school since March 13th. Guys, my students these scores were through the roof. I mean, we're going up 10, 15 points. I couldn't be more proud. So students, nice job. But what we got planned, let me just peek over at my lesson plan book is, so my 7th graders are going to be working on, we follow a Marzano vocabulary curriculum. So, all of our words that we use are intertwined in that interdisciplinary between all subject areas. So we're coming up on a review before our final test, and they are going to be doing a Jamboard choice board activity. So they get a multitude of ways to use their words, and it's all about student choice. You use each word once, boom, there's your project. Then nice. My AP students are going to be doing a flip grid where they're going to be recording their final thoughts on gender equality. We've been studying it. We've been researching it. They're going to be sharing that out, and then they'll be giving rebuttals to each other. And then my Gen Ed 8th grade is going to be, this is a funny one. They're debating tap and bottled water, which is better. I am team bottled. My roommate, co-teacher, Andy Snyderman, she's team tap. So it's nice to have that, little back and forth debate between us. So I have a great thing in store for them. Last year, at the beginning of last year, when we were doing this project, I got a letter in the mail. And I remember running into my house and saying, my husband, Adam, I'm like, Adam, look at this letter. This is the greatest thing. And he is like, Becky, what is wrong with you? And the letter was that we have lead in our water. And I was so excited because I'm like, this ties in perfectly to my unit, to my curriculum. Talk about bringing Relia into the classroom. This is it. So I'm going to surprise them with this letter and let them know, hey, bottled water, it's the way to go. Lead in your water can happen anywhere. It happened to me.
Nothing like thinking outside the box and being ultra creative and innovative. Great job. And I think all the things you touched upon in your methodologies are spot on. Good for you. Yeah. Nothing traditional about that. You are thinking creatively to make learning fun. And that is the key to any great educator, and continuously redefining yourself. Great stuff. Really great stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Middle Marvel number 23, Becky Rupnick. Yeah, we'll give the applause there.
Absolutely. Bring us home, my friend Chris. You've got it.
All right. Well, hey, Becky, what we try to do on our show Unlock the Middle and on Middle Marvels and on Navigating Leadership, our Friday show, is really get an opportunity to extend and expand our PLN and bring folks into our circle and us into theirs so we can learn and we can be better and we can influence others, not necessarily by our skill set, but by bringing others in as models. And I have to say, the energy you brought is clearly evident in your classroom, even though I've never been there. The enthusiasm that you bring to your lessons, the engagement that you have with your kids and with your colleagues is clearly amongst the top. And just congratulations on what you do. Keep doing it because it's influencing others to be better all the time. Everybody out there in Unlock the Middle Land, we're going to be calling it a wrap right now. We're coming up after 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Becky. You still have a little bit of time before you have to go to bed. But everybody, we're going to be coming together on Friday afternoon with Navigating Leadership, and then again next Sunday night with Unlock the Middle at 7 p.m. We look forward to seeing you all out there. Be strong, be well, be better, and always keep chugging right along. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.